Tell me a little bit about the governor's race. I think that people had been asking and looking for a new voice. Then we see that it's a three-dog race, and then Franchot's still on top at this point, a little bit. What do you make of the numbers right now?
I would say that everybody's actually within the margin of error,
Okay.
and I would no longer identify a single front runner. I
Okay.
would certainly say that we have three front runners between Wes Moore, Tom Perez, and Peter Franchot. They all have around 15% in our poll. I know that's slightly different than the UB Sun poll that came out a couple weeks prior to ours, but the big picture is these are the three who have raised really the most money. They have campaign infrastructure that's going to be able to push them in the last couple of weeks. On the Republican side, you see another really tight contest between Kelly Scholes and Dan Cox. They both have right around a quarter of the vote, with a 44% undecided. There's a lot of time between now and Election Day for those two.
Yeah. For some folks, that was kind of surprising. I think they expected to see some distance between the two and not to see that come down. But I mean, no one can really guess why. Tell me a little bit about Wes Moore. He's been very visible on the air and getting endorsements. What's he doing right now that works for him?
I think what works for him is he's a dynamic candidate with a really great story. He's extremely smart, and he has been able to raise money effectively. And as Malia, you just said very well, it's a three-person race now. He has emerged out of having lower name recognition, maybe outside of Baltimore, to having broader recognition, and is obviously one of the top three contenders.
And Perez folks are saying, hold on a little bit, and you'll see their ads. You hear the unmistakable voice of Barack Obama there. They are making some noise as well.
Absolutely. Strong endorsements for the Perez campaign, especially by national unions, given his work with the Department of Labor. You have a candidate that was strong in the D.C. area, but is now trying to break out statewide and capture votes in other places. And clearly the polling results of Malia and also ours about a month ago showed him as one of the top three candidates as well. He has enough money to continue to this very long end of the campaign.
How about O'Malley Brown right now? That's one that sort of went back and forth a little bit. Now, again, neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, right now, again, they're neck and neck. There's no statistical difference between the two candidates. Slightly different than what the UB Sun poll found a couple weeks prior. There's still a ton of folks undecided, but these are two individuals with high amounts of name recognition and deep connections to establishment Democratic politics in the state. So they also have the ability, both campaigns, to wage serious campaigns in the waning weeks here.
Is this one of those races like you were describing before, where crime becomes one of the main things? Who can be tougher here?
Oh, certainly. But Democrats have to be careful on crime. It's not just about being tough on crime. It's about having a nuanced approach to crime that appeals to both moderate Democrats as well as those progressive Democrats who are certainly not looking for a return to sort of heavy-handed policing.
Sure, and that comes in, into play here in Baltimore. As you look at Ivan Bates, Thuroo Vignarajah, and then Marilyn Mosby in that race, a lot of money being spent there as well. What do you make of that race?
Well, it's interesting. It's a replay of the last election, right? The exact three candidates, and they're both the challengers, Ivan Bates and Thuroo Vignarajah, are back in. In that previous race, the other than Mosby candidate split the vote, and she won by a lot. Yeah. Now, it'll be interesting now. The big cloud right now, of course, is the indictment and maybe a trial before, if she wins the primary election, before she it gets installed for another term. So there's a lot of things on the mind of voters, but again, it's a three-way race, and who knows how that vote is going to split, but it's high visibility right now.
Does an incumbent survive something like that, do you think, with so many eyes on her?
They can. There's always incumbency advantages, but the key here is whether her support, her very strong base of support, will erode due to the ethics allegations. Okay. If they don't, then you could see what happened in the first election, the other than Mosby vote splitting itself. However, if her support is eroding and one of the other gentlemen can catch on, we could have a new state's attorney.
Okay, want to talk comptroller a little bit?
Sure. So Brooke Learman leads currently over Tim Adams in a very undecided field, around half. Not surprising. A comptroller's race is not a high-profile race typically. I know a lot of folks out there are probably wondering what a comptroller does. But again, Learman has put together, I think, a really strong campaign organization. And she's raised a lot of money. And so, but I think Tim Adams, her opponent, again, another qualified candidate, independently wealthy, they're both able to fund serious campaigns in these waning weeks. So this will be one to watch, but right now, Learman is ahead.
Roger, I don't have a hard-hitting question for us. I ask you an easy one. So do you say comptroller or controller?
Comptroller, but it's easy to get it mixed up.
Okay.
Really important race, believe it or not, because it's about the budget. It's about money and where it's spent and how it's spent. So a very powerful place, but great candidates in these races, really experienced people, great public servants. I mean, there's a reason to vote right now because frankly, you've got a lot of qualified people in every race trying to get to a place where they can serve. So what's better than that?
I knew you'd come with a good answer, man. You didn't let my little comptroller thing bother you. Thank you, Roger Hartley, Malia Cromer. Good to see you both. Thank you.
Good to see you too.